What's the difference between I live in Japan, I lived in Japan, I'm living in Japan, I have lived in Japan, and I've been living in Japan? Today you're going to find out. Hello, this is Josh and welcome to English Speaking 360. English verb tenses are difficult for many students. Even simple verbs like to live can give you a headache. It's terrible. So today, I thought it would be a good idea to compare the different verb tenses, 5 different verb tenses, with the verb to live. And that's really going to help you. Simple present, I live in Japan. You probably know this one already. It means I live there now. I live in Japan. It is a permanent situation. There is no change. There is no focus on when it started or when it will end either. Example, I live in Japan and I work as an English teacher. How about you? Where do you live? We ask this question very often. Where do you live? It's very common. Now let's move on to the next one. Present progressive. I'm living in Japan. I'm living in Japan has 2 different meanings. The first one is I live in Japan right now. That's okay. For example, I am currently living in Japan. This is something you could say at a job interview, for example. I'm currently living in Japan. But the second meaning is for the time being. It means right now I live in Japan, but it may change soon. So remember this. This is a very important point. It is not permanent. I'm living in Japan, but I'm thinking of moving. I'm living in Japan until I find a job back home. So living in Japan is not permanent. Let's review. We're going to compare the 2 verb tenses that we've just seen. Simple present, I live in Japan, means I live there now and it's a permanent situation. Great. Present progressive, 2 meanings. It is also right now. That's okay. Not now. Right now. Right now. I'm living in Japan. The second meaning is right now, but it may change soon. You see the difference between the 2 verb tenses? Now let's move on to the past tense. The simple past, I lived in Japan. This one you should probably also know. Meaning, I lived in Japan at some point in the past. I don't live there anymore. Oh, this one is different. The other ones you were still living in Japan. This one you don't live there anymore. The action is finished. The action is complete. And it is disconnected from the present. Remember this because it's going to be important in the future. Here are a few examples. I lived in Japan 5 years ago. Now, 5 years ago is a specific time and it's optional. You can just say, I lived in Japan in the past. It's okay. I lived in Japan 5 years ago is also good. I lived in Japan for 5 years. Oh, so you can also add a duration. There's no problem. I lived in Japan for 5 years means that at some point in the past, for a duration of 5 years, I lived in Japan. And then I moved to another country. Let's review. Simple present, I live in Japan. We know this. I live there now. Permanent situation. I lived in Japan. The meaning is I don't live there now. It is a finished action in the past. So you can see clearly the difference between the 2 verb tenses. Now let's go with the present perfect. I have lived in Japan. Are you currently living in Japan or not? It's not so clear. In fact, it could be either. You could be living in Japan or not. It depends on the context or it depends on what follows after Japan. Here's the explanation. I've lived in Japan. Meaning number one, I don't live in Japan anymore. It's a past action plus a present result. The present result is usually experience. So the experience you had in the past shapes your present life. So that is the present result. You understand? You must understand this because it is a key point. Now here are a few examples. I have lived in Japan, so I can speak Japanese. Do you see it now? The past action is I have lived in Japan. What is the present result? I can speak Japanese now. So the experience I had in the past shapes my present life. You could also say, I have lived in Japan before, so I can speak Japanese. I have lived in Japan for 3 years. For 3 years. Is it finished or unfinished? Think about it. It depends on the context. For example, if you are at a job interview and the interviewer says, do you have any experience living abroad? And then you answer, oh yes, I have lived in Japan for 3 years. It means now I have experience living abroad. So the present result doesn't need to be stated in the sentence. It could be understood by the people who are participating in the conversation. Now let's review the simple past and the present perfect. I lived in Japan for 5 years, meaning I don't live there anymore. It's a finished action, okay? And there is no present connection, super important. Present perfect, I have lived in Japan for 5 years, meaning number one, I don't live there now, so it's the same as the simple past. And also, it is a finished action, but watch out here. There is a present result. Hey, why can't you use chopsticks so easily? Oh, I have lived in Japan for 5 years. So now I can use chopsticks really easily. Present perfect, but meaning number two. I live in Japan now. Wait a second. We said I have lived in Japan means I don't live there anymore. But here, meaning number two is I live in Japan now. The action is not finished yet. It's an unfinished action, and it's an action without a specific end time. Here are some examples. I have lived in Japan since 2022. Since 2022 shows that it's an ongoing situation. It's an unfinished action. It started in 2022, but there is no specific end time. So it continues up to the present, and it will probably continue into the future. I have lived in Japan all my life. All my life here gives you the idea that it's an ongoing situation. It is an unfinished action. I'm still living in Japan now. Now let's review. I have lived in Japan for a few years. I have lived in Japan since I was young. So now we are comparing meaning number one and meaning number two for the present perfect. I hope this is going to help you because it is super confusing for so many students. Meaning number one, I don't live there now. So I don't live in Japan anymore. Now, meaning number two, I live there now. I have lived in Japan since I was young. Since I was young helps me to know that this is an ongoing situation. Finished action for meaning number one. So I've lived in Japan for a few years. It's finished and there's a present result, which is experience that I have gained in Japan. I've lived in Japan for a few years, so now I really enjoy sushi. Meaning number two, the action is unfinished. It continues until now. And there is no specific end time. So do you see the clear difference between meaning number 1 and meaning number 2 of the present perfect? So that's why the present perfect is the most difficult verb tense in English. Present perfect progressive. I have been living in Japan. It looks very complicated, but it's not so bad. 2 meanings. Meaning number 1 is I live in Japan now, and there is a focus on duration. In the sentence we have here, there is no duration, but there should be a duration. I will give it to you in the example. If it is a long duration, it is more permanent. You will understand with an example. I have been living in Japan for 10 years. It is an ongoing situation. It has not finished yet. I have been living, ing, in Japan for 10 years. Now, because the duration is so long, we can see it as something that is permanent. I live in Japan, or I have been living in Japan for 10 years. You cannot say, I live in Japan for 10 years. So if you want to focus on the duration, you should use the present perfect progressive. Now, meaning number 2. I live in Japan for the time being. You remember, we've seen this before, for the time being. So, if it's a short duration, it means it may change soon. It is not permanent. Here's an example. I've been living in Japan for the past 3 months, but I might relocate soon. You see it here. I might relocate soon. I'm thinking about moving because I've been living here for 3 months and I don't really like it. So it's ongoing also, but it's non-permanent because the duration is short. Let's review now. Present progressive versus present perfect progressive. I'm living in Japan. You remember? 2 meanings. First one, right now. I am currently living in Japan. Second meaning, right now, but it may change soon. Okay. Present perfect progressive. 2 meanings also. Right now, same meaning, right now, but long duration means it's ongoing or permanent. On the other hand, meaning number 2 is right now plus a short duration, which means that it may change soon. I've been living in Japan for 10 years, permanent. I've been living in Japan for 3 months, it may change soon. I'm thinking about moving. Now let's review more, because the present perfect progressive should also be compared to the present perfect. On the present perfect side, we have I have lived in Japan for 3 years. Okay, 2 meanings here again. I don't live there now. I don't live in Japan. Past action plus present result. The present result is usually the experience. Okay? Meaning number 2, I live there now. So you can see once again the present perfect has 2 meanings and they are total opposites. So the present perfect in this case is not very clear. So that's why if you want to say that you live there now, you should use the present perfect progressive. I've been living in Japan for 3 years. Meaning, I'm living there right now. I started living there 3 years ago, all the way up to this very moment. I have been living in Japan for 3 years, and this one is very, very clear. No one is going to misunderstand what you're saying. Here's the full summary, guys. I live in Japan, permanent situation. I'm living in Japan, temporary situation. I lived in Japan, actions in the past. I have lived in Japan, past action with a present result, and that is experience. I have been living in Japan, ongoing action all the way up to the present, and the focus is on duration. I've been living in Japan since 2014. I've been living in Japan for 3 months, but I might leave soon. That could also be temporary. Great job, guys! If you want to learn more useful English, check out my other videos, and if you want more practice, go to my website, EnglishSpeaking360.com, and you can find many extra activities on all of my videos. See you next time. Bye-bye.